This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio, here along with Matt Allen, and together we are your KTAR car guys, heard every Saturday from 11 to noon. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. So if you got car questions, we guarantee we got car answers at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And you can also text your questions at 411-923. And today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, I think we'll get to an email of the week. What do you think, Matt?
I think we can probably come up with some. There's been some emails lately trickling in with some funky questions.
Yeah, so a little email of the week. Of course, taking your phone calls. This show is mostly about phone calls, so you guys got to get involved with us. And then brakes, Matt. Brakes are such the issue, and I don't think we've talked about brakes in a while. And what do you think about when brakes?
When brakes break?
When brakes break?
When brakes breaks? Well, brakes are a funny item because it's one of those things that you can have prices all over the board for brakes, all kinds of symptoms. You can have different noises and different things. People think they have brake problems and they don't. People think they have another problem and it really is a brake problem. So why don't we just talk about the process? When do we need brakes and how good or bad of brakes and how much should they cost? But
yeah, so symptoms. What is something that might tip you off that you have a brake problem?
So we're going to start with a new car. Let's go through the life cycle of brakes.
Oh,
so
right.
a new car, you got your new car, you're really going to need to do nothing with your brakes, probably till 30,000 miles or somewhere right there. But so when you start to get into the neighborhood or the time frame of needing new brakes, you might notice one or two or multiple symptoms. Maybe a constant squeal. We've probably all been driving, maybe when sitting at the valet or waiting at the mall for somebody to drive by and the car goes,
yep,
just as it drives by. That's a symptom of a worn-out brake pad. So what is that? There's a little metal sensor or a little metal tab that as the brake pad material goes away, that little metal tab then will come in contact with the brake rotor and cause it to squeak. That's kind of like the warning light.
And sometimes that squeak will actually go away when you hit the brakes, which is kind of unusual. So you're cruising down the road, you hear a little, it's kind of crickety, kind of squeaky. You hit the brakes and the noise goes away. Sometimes that is just, it's resting on the sensor. And when you push the brakes, the noise goes away, but because it still needs brakes.
Yeah, then that noise, that vibration, we're dampening the vibration by applying pedal pressure. Some of the other symptoms, you might have a red brake light on the dash comes on. That's usually either tied to the parking brake, which people typically don't leave up. I mean, they do. We see
Not in this town.
you don't use the parking brake very much. But so that might be a symptom of a low brake fluid. So you just add some brake fluid. Most of the time, no harm, no foul, right? But low fluid is a symptom or a sign that the front brakes or the rear brakes, if they're discs, are wearing out. As the pads wear out, the caliper piston has to extend further, and so that area needs to be taken up with brake fluid. So low brake fluid doesn't mean you need brakes, but it's a sign that, maybe we should check them.
Maybe you need brakes. And not generally on a modern car that doesn't have any miles on it, you're going to have a brake fluid leak. I wouldn't expect that. Yeah. I hardly ever see a brake fluid leak.
Not
on anything modern. For sure.
And then you might have your brake warning light on it. And, we were racking our brain a little bit for just a slight second. I think it's pretty much only the German cars that have and that's
BMWs and Audis and Mercedes.
Mini Cooper, Volvo, not necessarily German, but European cars. And they're going to have, it's going to be more of an amber light. It might be a circle with some hash mark circle, with some, not a complete, I can't even think.
And what that is, that's a sensor down on the pad. Instead of that little metal tab that you were talking about that makes noise ahead of time, that's something that just grounds out. When it comes into contact with the rotor, it flips that light on. And that's what that is.
Now, some cars have a sensor on every pad. Some of them have it just on one of the inner rear pads. So you can need brakes. You can go all the way down and grind metal on metal, brakes, no pad left, and the pad with the sensor on it may not be the first one to wear out. And then, the other symptoms, we might have vibrations. Everybody's done it. You're coming to the stoplight 60 miles an hour or getting off the freeway, and you just touch the brake. Maybe you just got to slow down a little bit, and it just jerks the steering wheel out of your hand maybe, or you just feel that little wobble in your butt like you're on the dance floor a little bit,
That's probably the most common reasons we're doing brake jobs. Well, one of the more common reasons we're doing brake jobs is not because the pads are worn out, but because we're starting to get a warped rotor and starting to have an issue there where they are getting that vibration. And it's funny, I was driving a customer to work in his truck. He was dropping his truck off for us to fix a check engine light. And I'm taking him back to work in his truck. And I hit the brakes, and I'm like, oh, man, these things really pulsate. He goes, oh, and he goes, no, I had the brakes done not too long ago back home before he moved out here. He said they told me that was normal. So the next time I hit the brakes, I'm like, so a professional mechanic told you that was normal? He goes, yeah.
That's okay. Normal for me because I don't know how to do the brakes, so that's normal outcome, I guess, right?
So so we fixed his check engine light, and he's paying the bill. I said, when you're ready, why don't you bring that back and let me read you those brakes because they're not right. But pulsations in the brakes, that's a very common thing, and that's a lot of times you're going to experience on the freeway. You're getting off the freeway, you're going 65, 75 miles an hour, and you're coming down the off ramp and you hit the brakes. That's when I feel them the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's the common thing.
And then we've got, so before we haven't worn our brakes out quite yet, we may or may not need some brake maintenance before we're ever due for our first brake job. And there's only a couple maintenance items on the brakes. One, if you've got four-wheel disc brakes, you just drive the car, really. And get normal inspections when you have your annual checkup on the car, or when you have your brakes checked, they're going to monitor the shop will probably monitor the brakes for you. Now, if you have an older car, and again, Dave, this is another thing I can't really think of exactly rear drum brakes are going away.
Yeah, they're almost gone.
Almost gone. I'm not even so sure there's a brand new car made with rear drum brakes. Maybe a lower level import like a Kia.
Big lighter type car.
Yeah, and I say lower level import like a Kia. I mean an entry level of a great car. You could have a entry level Civic, for example, just might have drum brakes. Once a year maybe, we need to clean and adjust the rear brakes. That's going to do a couple things. It's going to keep the parking brake working better.
Pedal height's nice.
Yeah, nice high pedal height too on your brake pedal. It's going to make your front brakes last a bit longer because with the properly adjusted rear brake, they're going to do their fair share of the work. So that, and then the other thing that, I've known about brake fluid flushing. When I first started working on cars as a teenager in early 80s, I worked at a Porsche place, and they're always changing the brake fluid. Like, why are we changing brake fluid? That was necessary for some of the Porsche Club events. You have to have brake fluid. The Germans forever have been saying change the brake fluid every 2 years. The Americans and Japanese have, forever, there was never any maintenance talking about brake fluid, but now you're starting to see it maybe in 2 years or 4 years. So those are the maintenance items. Now we need brakes, Dave. What do we do?
Well, when it comes to, but let's talk about that fluid, for instance, and the maintenance of the fluid. So I asked you before the show. So I buy a modern car, 2015 Toyota car. I can run that car to 200,000 miles and never change the brake fluid.
That's right.
Could absolutely do that.
You could do that.
And the car will still function.
Yeah, the car will still stop. So the reason we want to change the brake fluid is hydroscopic. It means it attracts moisture.
Big word.
It's big. I know. It's a lot of syllables in that one. So it's going to attract the brake or the moisture, and when that moisture is in the brake fluid, those are sensitive electronic parts in the brakes. On the ABS systems on the modern car, there's micro little valves to allow fluid to pass through. You start getting corrosion, rust, debris, trash in there, so you occasionally just need to refresh that brake fluid. But in theory, you could go forever and not have a problem. Rewind your 78 Buick. Hell, nobody changed the brake fluid in 1978, and we didn't have problems.
It was a big, bad, crude system, but they didn't stop on a dime back then.
No, in the brake, a master cylinder was $29. Now, you can get a $500 master cylinder.
Yeah, the brake components are way more expensive.
You didn't have ABS to have to worry about, but you used to see that brake fluid was like dark black coffee, nasty. Still working. Still working. But now, brake job. I say people ask me what a brake job costs. $350. Round numbers, give or take. You have your fancier car, you have your lesser expensive car, but round numbers for a good, proper, quality brake job, standard brake job, you're going to spend $350. But why isn't it $99, Dave?
Oh, I don't know. You
They're
put
all
me
the
on
time.
spot. Yeah,
They're $129. Lifetime warranty.
Pro rata all the way around.
Yeah.
$99 brakes.
Yeah.
Right before the show, we were calling our parts people just to double check our math, and picked a late model Asian sedan, and we had a range of brake pad prices from $115 all the way down to $24.
And we're talking just the brake pad.
Just the brake pad, same car. So not a brake job, but the pads required to do the deal. And it's like, how can it be that different? So it's one of those things where we have to get, we can talk about brakes all day long. Today we're taking phone calls and anything. So if it's brake related, you got a pulsation or a vibration, we can talk about that too. The other thing that's coming up, your battery made it through the summer. We're coming into fall. If you were lucky enough to get that third year out of it, you might be time to think about getting a battery before it gets cold, and you go to turn your car and it just says click, turn over, nothing happens.
Sometimes it doesn't even say click.
So anyway, we test every battery that comes through the shop, and we get a lot of batteries that test bad but are still starting the car, and we're telling people, hey, we can do it now, or you can wait a week and a half or 3 weeks from now when this battery is going to die. And when we do put batteries in cars, we go ahead and we go with interstate batteries, because we found that to be the most versatile brand across the United States from coast to coast. Everyone knows it. There's hardly a shop in town that doesn't carry it. Interstate batteries are the batteries that we choose to use at Tri-City Transmission.
Find them at interstatebatteries.com, and when you're there, or you go to the Interstate Battery store. They've got a couple of them through the valley. So whether it's a car battery or a drill battery or maybe even your cell phone, they can get them handled for you.
For sure. And bumpertobumperradio.com. There's a whole page there dedicated to Interstate Battery and how much we believe in them. So when we come back, you guys are seeming shy today. We are taking your phone calls at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A-plus rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20-plus years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
Having an accident is stressful. Dealing with the repair process shouldn't be. Hi, Leo Petrozzella for Campus Body Salon. The right to choose a repair facility is yours, not the insurance company's. We work with all insurance companies, but we work for you. Campus Body Salon, bumper-to-bumper radio approved and independently family-owned and operated since 1973. Check out our Cash for Your Crash program, where we pay you 10% off of your repair up to $1,000. Campus Body Salon, the best care in collision repair.
Welcome back to Bumper to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are helping you with your car. To get a hold of the show, 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. Give us a call if you got a question about a weird vibration you're feeling, if you got a question about brakes, if you got a question about, man, my car just keeps using batteries, it's dying all the time, there's something going on with that. What kind of oil should I use in my car? Do I need to service my coolant in my car? Why should I buy good tires versus bad tires? Why should I flush my brake fluid? And my window motors in my car are always going out, and I just think it's like an inkjet printer. Why do I need to keep buying these window regulators for my car if you happen to have one of those vehicles?
If you have a car, you really should just call us.
Right? Give us a call, 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR.
You want to go back into this brake job, or what are you thinking, Dave?
Yeah, I think this brake job is so you're saying around the 30,000 mile mark. That's kind of the beginning of where we're starting to see brakes wear out. Mm-hmm. So in actually, I think I've seen that number change over the years.
It's gone up, actually. They've changed. I mean, we talked before the show. Several years ago, we were going through a rash where we kept seeing Hondas had rear brakes worn out, like way before the front brakes, and you never see that. It just doesn't typically happen. I mean, your front brakes are going to last 70% longer than your rears typically. And again, it was 27. My window for brakes was always 27 to 35,000 miles. You take some of these Chevy trucks, 100,000 miles, and the pads are still great shape.
I know.
So
the anomaly.
The rules and the rules of thumb or the standards have have for sure changed.
But yeah,
So
it's
you're-
kind of a rule of thumb, though. You could say, at 30,000 miles, it's not uncommon to need a front brake job.
And so what's the first brake job is going to consist of? I mean, we're going to let's walk through this, and even just think about that $14 or $24 brake pad and the $109 brake pad. And I don't care if you're talking about a advertised special for $99 or $189 or what we're talking about $350, but just think about the economics. So the brake pad's $125 because we're going with the factory, the best pad. It takes 2 hours for the service technician to work on this car. He's going to first test drive it. He's going to bring it in. He's going to verify the problem. This is your first brake job. We've got to pull all the wheels. We're going to check the rear brakes, the front brakes. We're going to test the brake fluid, make sure it's good quality still. And then we're going to pull the brakes apart. We're going to put in that $125 set of brake pads. And then we've got to machine the rotors. The rotors typically are not going to need to be replaced on the first brake job.
Nope.
Unless you just ignored all the warnings and just ruined the brake rotor.
Unless it sounded like this before you changed the brakes.
Right.
Because you went too long.
Yes. So so now you got to machine the rotors. You got to get a good cross hatch on them, clean all you don't want it like a record player. It needs to be a fine finish. Those need to be washed. They should be washed in soap and water. Not very many people do that.
Not even a shower.
Yeah, some of the technicians don't even take a shower, let alone clean the brake pads, right? No. We've got to wash them in soap and water. You've got to clean and lubricate all the calipers and pins and slides. And so there is a difference. You talk about the contractor in the past, Dave, or I can lay tile. I can put some tile on the floor. I can slop together some thin set and some cement and slap that stuff down. And your husband and your uncle can also do brakes at home. But that's a big difference between what we're doing at the shop. Do they both make the car stop? Yeah. But are they both done right?
No.
Maybe not.
No. If I lay tile, the grout line is not going to line up with the wall. I'm gonna have a problem there. It's going to bother me, for sure. I can lay tile, but not as good as the tile guy. Anyway, Matt, we got some phone calls starting to light up here. Let's go with Mike in Phoenix. He's got a 2000 Toyota Tundra. How can we help you, Mike? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, you guys.
You bet.
I got a 2000 Toyota Tundra, two-wheel drive, and ever since I bought it about a year ago, and whenever I brake at high speed, it's got a really bad shake in the front end. I replaced the rotor, or I had my mechanic replace the rotors and the calipers, and it did the same thing. And then there was not a recall, but some kind of a notification from Toyota saying that the calipers were undersized. And so I had my mechanic put on the recommended calipers, which he said were about 1.5 inches bigger than the original. And it's still doing the same thing.
Why
so I've had rotors replaced and two sets of calipers replaced.
What are you doing with the brake pads? I haven't heard you mention anything about the brake pads in there.
Well, the brake pads got replaced. Both sides of the calipers got replaced.
What?
They've actually been replaced 3 times because I kept the original calipers first and did the pads. And then I did the pads and the rotors. And then I did bigger calipers and new brake pads.
Matt, I know on some of those early Tundras that there was some updated backing plates. And literally the backing plates had, air ports where they would bring air in to cool the rotors. So, I mean, I know the rotors changed and then the backing plates. And so there's enough there to say there kind of is a problem with the vehicle. Maybe the brakes were undersized a bit. So does it get better right after the brakes are done, or does it stay exactly the same?
Stays exactly the same.
Then I think the problem is not the brakes.
Yeah.
Something is loose in that front end that's maybe causing that problem, and so there may be more going on there. So I don't think to keep going back to that same thing we're necessarily going to solve the problem, because if we're throwing everything in the brakes except the kitchen sink at it, we still got the same problem. Then there's something else we're missing.
We never encourage you to go to the shop and not tell them the history of the car, but maybe it's time to go do another shop and just say, this thing's got something wrong with the front end. What do you think? and not focus on the brakes. I mean, maybe we've got a bad wheel bearing. Because, like you said, Dave, it never changes. You put all these new parts on it, it's still the same. Bent hub, bad wheel bearing. Maybe there's
loose front end stuff.
Something in a ball joint. I mean, who knows? Maybe the caster's way out of whack. It's the beginning of a death wobble, maybe.
Yeah.
So on the surface, what do you mean? It's just brakes should be a piece of cake. What's wrong with you guys, right? But they can be challenging.
And sometimes, I mean, brakes, we don't have hard diagnostic problems that often on brakes, but once in a while we get one that's a real bugger. So someone's going to, and if you're working with these people, say, listen, this is what's going on. We got to look at it from a different angle because we're not fixing it. We're trying all these things, and there is those bulletins and the updated pieces and all that stuff, but that's not why we're having the same problem.
Yeah, that was 17 years ago.
For sure. So let's go with Ken in Mesa. Thanks for the call, Mike. He's got a 2004 Dodge Ram. How can we help you, Ken? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, thank you for taking my call, fellas.
You bet.
Yeah, so my question, I have, as you know, the Dodge Ram, and I took it to a mechanic, and turned out the mechanic wasn't licensed when I took it to him, and ever since I got it back, this was maybe probably about 2 to 3 months ago, I believe it's burning a lot of oil because I got white smoke coming up my tailpipe. Took it to a few shops. They looked like they didn't really want to bother with it because, you know, how much work it was in detail to find out what the problem is.
How many miles are on that thing?
162.
So, but I want to back up just a little bit. You talked about you went to a mechanic that you found out which is unlicensed, which I want to touch on that later maybe if we have a time.
Yeah.
What did that got? You seem to bring the problem with the truck now into correlation with the mechanic that was unlicensed. Did he fix something to try and get rid of the smoke, or do you think he made a repair that caused this problem that you're having?
I think he made a repair that caused the problem because I had him first. He went and did a water pump for me, changed out my water pump. And then he also was like, oh, I could clean out the injectors and all that. I was like, well, can you just do, instead of doing that, can you do a tune-up? He said, oh, you don't need a tune-up because you got the injectors and coils and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, go ahead and just clean out the injectors then. Okay. And ever since then, you know, I don't know what he did with them, but, yeah.
So Dave, here's what I'm thinking on Ken's truck. Ken, we had a water pump replaced, probably because it was leaking. I wonder if we just didn't go far enough there. White smoke, you may have an overheating problem. You lost the water pump, and he fixed the symptom.
Right.
But what have we talked about before? Not that you ignored the water pump, but you go too long. The biggest failure in the system is a cooling system leak that can cause catastrophic failure. I think you need to get in for a cooling system test and a block test and have that checked. That's where I would start first.
Well, we got a second here to check on the as far as the licensing. People say, oh, you know, licensed, certified, all these things. That is such a soup of, you know, all kinds of crazy marketing in regards to that. You know, some of the most – is there a licensing by the state of Arizona to work on cars?
There's not one licensed mechanic in this state. It's not regulated by the state.
So anyhow, when we come back, we got wide open lines at 602-277-5827. We're going to start with Pete and with Sherry. We'll be right back.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family-owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, oh yeah, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations. One location, 14 bays, 88 years of automotive expertise, and a passionate commitment to customer service and excellence. My name is Lee Weatherby, and I approve this message because it's true. We love what we do, and we want to do it for you. Accurate Automotive, the home of friends serving friends.
Hi, I'm Dave Riccio, owner of Tri-City Transmission. Well, you may have come to know us for being a transmission expert. What you may not know is that our customers regularly ask us why we don't perform repairs to the rest of the vehicle. You guys are so great. Why work on just the transmission? Well, the requests became hard to ignore, and 3 years ago, we began to build an infrastructure to perform general automotive repair. We weren't going to do general repair if we couldn't be great at it. So in 2013, we began the soft opening of Tri-City Auto Repair on Smith Road. We brought on ASE Master Technicians to work side by side with our Master Transmission Technicians. The combination of the best in both of these trades has created a synergy that allows us not only to fix your transmission, but to service and repair your whole car, and to do it well. Let's face it, the modern car has become so integrated. We believe all of our expert knowledge puts us ahead of the curve. Find us at TriCityTransmission.com or TempeAutoRepairShop.com. That's TempeAutoRepairShop.com.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper-to-bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, Kurtz. Take it to Kurtz.
Arizona's news station. KTAR. On air, 92.3 FM. Online at KTAR.com. And streaming live on the KTAR News app. Your breaking news and traffic now.
It's 11:30. I'm Tom Perumian. Here's our top story. For the first time, the United States says it's communicating directly with North Korea. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson in Beijing said Washington has established direct lines of communications with Pyongyang and asked North Korea if they would like to talk. ABC's Jennifer Eskelson has more from London.
Tillerson also noted that tensions between the U.S. and North Korea were overheated. Secretary Tillerson blamed the North for the provocations. He said a halt to their missile launches would calm things down.
Hurricane Maria is stressing Puerto Rico's health system, which already suffers from long waits and a severe shortage of specialists amid a decade-long economic recession. Facilities are bursting with patients and often sending them elsewhere because they're unable to treat them. A lack of fuel for generators is leaving operating rooms in the dark amid widespread blackouts. And now for a check on traffic, here's Mike Daniels in the KTAR Traffic Center.
Well, thanks, Tom. I-17 northbound at Thomas Road. We've got a crash blocking the right lane right there on the off-ramp. Grass fire at Scottsdale Road and Deer Valley to watch out for, and a vehicle fire at 35th Avenue just north of Van Buren. This report brought to you by Smokey's Garage Door. Is your garage door squeaking, rattling, or just not working? The pros at Smokey's Garage Door will get you back on track fast. Free estimates and same-day service available. Just click Smokey'sGarageDoor.com. I'm Mike Daniels, KTAR News.
Clear skies through the week, 99 degrees. The expected high today, 70 degrees, the overnight low. Same for tomorrow, cooler on Monday. Right now, 86 degrees on Black Mountain. Weather brought to you by Howard Air. Whether replace or repair, call Howard Air. I'm Tom Perumian on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Whether you're a lifelong dirt road driving, tackle box toting, weekend warrior, or an outdoor lifestyle rookie, from the desert to the mountains of our great state, Mike Russell has the outdoors in Arizona covered. This afternoon at 1 with Get Outdoors. Only on KTAR News 92.3 FM and streaming live on the KTAR News app.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20+ years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
Hi, I'm Kurt Morgan, owner of Shadow Mountain Auto Service in Phoenix. I'm also a college automotive instructor, and I've been a technician for over 30 years. In that time, I've seen all kinds of games and gimmicks in the auto repair business, the worst of which seems to be associated with transmissions. I think it's because, to most, including technicians, the inside of a transmission is a mystery. So when one of our valued customers has a transmission problem, we send them straight to Tri-City Transmission. No games, no gimmicks. That's Tri-City Transmission.
Here's what Carrie from Tempe had to say about her experience with Good Works Auto Repair.
As soon as you realize, I need to get some work done on my car, I'm sure the thought occurs to you that you're about to get taken for a ride. I used to share the same sentiment and wondered if the shop was going to make something up and have me spending hundreds of dollars instead of $30 I was planning on for a simple oil change. This is one of the reasons I will only go to Good Works Auto Repair. Because I trust them. Putting trust in an auto shop didn't come easily. It's been built over several visits with them doing exactly what was needed, not coercing me into unnecessary work. Ask them for an oil change and a safety inspection, they do just that. No baloney, list of filters, belts, and whatchamacallits that need replacing on my new car. Thank you, Good Works Auto Repair, for being there for me when I need you.
Appreciate the kind words. It's always a pleasure. Glenn Hayward here. Come experience what award-winning auto service should be. Good Works Auto Repair in Tempe, or visit us at goodworksautorepair.com.
Few cities are as car-centric as Phoenix, and this is the show that'll help you to better understand that machine you depend on to get around the valley. It's Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and the KTAR app for Android and iPhone.
All righty, half down and half to go. Welcome back to the second half of Bumper to Bumper Radio. I'm Matt Allen. Standing next to me is Dave Riccio. And as always, we're here to help you with your car every Saturday morning at Bumper to Bumper Radio. And not only are we a 1-hour radio show every Saturday 11, but there is also a website powered behind this show is bumpertobumperradio.com. You can find auto repair shops and body shops there. You can find out where to take your drill battery to the Interstate Battery Store. You can go to the podcasts and listen to some old shows. You can search by topic if you've got something going on with your car and you want to. Today we're talking about brakes, but you know every time we're talking about whatever you want to talk about because you dictate the show because you call us. You call us at 602-277-5827. It's 602-277-KTAR. And you get to ask us whatever you want to ask us about your car. You may ask us something else, right?
Yeah, right.
I may not be able to tell you the whole story if you ask me something else.
One thing that you glazed over that maybe people don't realize, you can find a body shop at bumpertobumperradio.com.
Yes.
We've got 4 body shops scattered throughout the valley where these are good body shops that you can go to. Body shop is one of those repairs, even if they're not next door to your house, you're not going to pick them because they're convenient. This is a major repair and someone that's really taken, I see these cars that get crashed. I'm like, are they ever going to be able to make this right? And when you have a good body shop, they are. When you have a bad body shop, they'll make it look pretty, but it ain't right. So that's not going to happen in any of the bumper-to-bumper radio body shops.
We had that twin-turbo Audi torn apart. I hate to say the word torn apart. It just sounds bad. We had whole front end of the car disassembled. We're down in the intake manifold.
It was tore down.
Area, turbos and whatnot. And everything is, there's not 2 centimeters of room of clearance in some items here. And the technician, Sean, and I are standing there looking at it. I said, man, this car ever gets crunched in the front, I sure hope that goes to a good body shop. Could you imagine? Having to work on this car after a bad repair was done? Nothing lines up.
We
right.
do see it. We do see them in our shop once in a while when somebody's had some bad body work. We're like, oh man, But then when you see good body work, you don't actually see it.
Well, yeah, you don't know it's there. It's
like it never happened.
It's like it's never happened. So do yourself, mechanical repairs are one thing. You're usually not in a lot of stress. But do yourself a favor. Go on bumpertobumperradio.com. You're going to find I-17 collision on the west side. You're going to find
first class
auto body in South Scottsdale. And then you've got campus collision over there in Tempe. Just go write their names down and put them in your glove box.
Write it on your insurance card because when you call your insurance company, if you happen to be unlucky enough to get in an accident, they're going to say, oh, go over here to this. No. Don't go where they choose. You choose where you want to go. So anyhow, we got to get to the phones, Matt. We got Sherry, Pete, Chris, and Jerry, and we're going to go with Pete and Chandler. He's got a 1999 Dodge Durango. How can we help you, Pete? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, good morning, Matt and Dave. I just had a question. I've got a battery discharge problem, and I don't use the car much. I think it's gone dead like 3 times. And, I charge it for a while or jump it, and it starts up again. And I just took it once to one of those parts places, and they said the alternator and the battery are fine. Mm-hmm. So maybe I have a drain.
How long does the car sit before the battery dies?
Well, that's one of the things I was going to test, but I haven't. I've just pulled off the turbo because I had to use it to get the inspection last week. I would say about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Before.
Okay.
Eddie, 3 weeks without driving a car, Matt. I'm thinking they do make battery tenders, but is something on? Is there a dome light hidden somewhere in a glove box, on that's drawn this battery down?
Yeah, 3 weeks shouldn't make the car not start. So there's something. Are you in disagreement? You think 3 weeks?
I don't. With the
modern.
Yeah, I do a little bit. I'm thinking of my car. After it's sat for 3 weeks, I'm a little nervous it's going to fire up. Let's say I was out of town for 3 weeks, came home. Maybe a little nervous about it. But if it's already kind of a weak battery, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
It
sounds like it's a newer battery. It sounds like the alternator's working. Believe it or not, you can have a battery that's dirty, and that will cause a discharge. I doubt this battery's dirty, but, I'm not talking dirt and dust. Carrie's rolling his eyes over here. I'm talking about acid on top. You start to get the little growth. You've got some corrosion over here. That can cause a slight parasitic draw. But if you really want to find the draw, you've got to start narrowing it down to the circuit. There's some special tools. Sometimes maybe it's just not worth. If you only drive it every 3 weeks, I'm not spending money on this car.
I'm gonna get me a battery tender and plug that thing in.
Get a battery tender, or you can get. I think they have them in marine applications. It's just or hot rod. There's a simple little dial that you put on the negative battery terminal. And you just turn the dial. It disconnects the battery. It's not going to draw down.
I'm not really a fan of that on the modern car because all the keep alive memory. We don't want to clear that out. But it is. If you want to do it, you can do it. So I'm just trying to be nice here.
Yeah. Hey, that's all right.
To you. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for the call, Pete. Let's go ahead and go with Sherry in Phoenix, 2000 Ford XLT. How can we help you, Sherry? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hello, Dave and Matt. I got a scary transmission problem I need to ask you about.
You're in the right place. Dave is scared of nothing.
That's not true. There's monsters under my bed. I got to worry.
Well, I'll give you the punchline here in a second. 2000 Ford Explorer XLT. I purchased it in 2003 as a pre-owned vehicle from a reputable Ford dealership here in the Valley. 2006, early 2006, thank you very much, $2,600 for a brand new transmission. So here's the punchline. It's got 306,000 miles on it right now. I've got
barely broken in.
Should I write Ford as a testimony?
That's a great car.
Okay. So check engine lights started coming on at high speeds on the freeway. The overdrive light started blinking. I've had the codes read 3 times. I've gone from 3 codes showing up to 5 codes showing up. And now I'm told that out of the 5 gears, only 2 are changing. And I've been told that I took it to this one transmission shop 2 weeks ago. Haven't heard back from them. They dropped the pin and said it wasn't I think I have the words right. They said it was not the external solenoid wiring harness, that they think it's the internal solenoid wiring harness. And I have an E-transmission. And that if they could find the part, they could replace it for about $350. But they're not calling me back, and they're not taking my calls. So what is your recommendation, doctors, that I do next?
Well, I think I don't know what the codes, you didn't list what they were, as far as the codes go. But if you have every code in the book, for a transmission, I do start to think about wiring issues. Maybe we got a power supply problem down to the transmission, so maybe that's what they're referring to. Does yours have a V8 or is it a 4-liter?
4-liter V6, and the transmission shop did say it's highly unusual that you're going to get 5 codes going out all at one time, and that's what led them to believe it was also a wiring harness issue.
Right, and they don't have to be led to believe. I mean, there's electrical tests they can do. They can look at the power source down to those solenoids to see what's going on. There's a 5R55E, that's one model of transmission, and I think that's the one you referred to. But there's also a 5R55W, but I'm not really sure on the exact year changeover. One has a solenoid pack, one has individual solenoids, so a little bit different. But all the parts are readily available for that transmission. It can be fixed. It can be diagnosed. It's not like we got to guess.
You know what on this car is interesting too, Dave, is 300,000 miles, high 200s. I've been saying, and we're seeing more and more of it, these cars were never thought that. I don't think these manufacturers really ever intended these cars to go that long.
No.
And this is where, and you get in this model year range with high mileage, you imagine how many times that wiring harness has vibrated. You imagine, if it's had a couple transmissions, it's had some repairs, and mechanics are pulling and tugging, and things are wiggling. High mileage cars are sometimes difficult to diagnose.
Because there's been 25 other mechanics that have been in there before you, and you kind of got to work. It's now a complex reality, and even some of these bulletins and stuff we read, these are for cars that are in the first 50,000 miles of their life, and they're written for guys that are working on them at the dealership.
Brand new.
You take a car with 350,000 miles on it, that's a whole different. We've got something called tolerance stack. Plus we got something, and of those 25 mechanics that worked on it before us, maybe 1 or 2 of them weren't so good. Or more than that.
Yeah, I mean, and just the normal. I mean, you don't even have to be bad. It's just
the normal cause of the process.
Was this thing, did somebody use this on a dirt road and just shake it forever versus the one you could have one that went 300,000 miles up and down the interstate all day long versus one that went on a dirt road a lot, and maybe you might have some little different issues or something like that.
Well, one of the points, Sherry, is that, and with what Matt's saying, a little harder to diagnose. You have to I think as these cars get up in the life cycle, you got to lower your expectations a little bit for the turnaround time at the auto shop. We get a car in with 35,000 miles and need a set of brakes on it, piece of cake, right? Yeah. We get a car with 310,000 miles on it with some sort of intermittent electrical problem. Oh, hold on here a second, you know. So just know that that's going to happen, and be a little slower on the phone calls back to shop. You know yet? So anyhow, thanks for the call, Sherry. 602-277-5827. We've got Jerry, Chris, and Peter, and we'll be right back.
Ouch! Being out of tune is no fun, and maybe even a little painful. Hi, this is Lee Weatherby, owner of Accurate Automotive in Mesa. At Accurate, we are a family-owned and operated one-stop automotive repair shop that specializes in building long-term relationships that are in tune with your needs, not ours. We've been recognized nationally as one of the top shops in the country, but for over 20 years, our priority has stayed focused on providing quality automotive service and repair at a fair price. I invite you to come in and see the difference an in-tune relationship can make for you and your car. With our free courtesy inspection, a $49 value, we feel it is well worth our investment in you because we believe good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out online at accurateautomotiveaz.com today.
Hi, Lisa Henry with Russ Lyon Sotheby's International Realty. Have you been thinking maybe the time is right to move, but you're not sure if you have enough equity in your home or if it really is a good time? Well, home values have increased significantly over the past few years, and interest rates are still historically low. For how long? No one knows. But for every 1% increase in the interest rate, the result is about a 10% loss in purchasing power. So it might be a really great time to sell your home and either upsize or downsize to a new home while the interest rates are still low. Contact me via my website at lisareneehenry.com or direct at 480-330-9530 for a no-obligation market valuation on your home and to hear about our global online marketing plan designed to sell your home quickly for top dollar. Again, that's lisareneehenry.com, 480-330-9530. Come experience the difference a truly customer-focused real estate agent can make.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we've got to get to Jerry, Chris, Jim, and Pete. And to that last phone call, Matt, that lady had 300,000+ miles on her car. You can actually do that. And I bet you it would be interesting to know if she were to put together the receipts from all the auto repair, how much money did she actually spend on that car to keep that thing going? You can make these cars go a long time, and it doesn't necessarily mean you spend a fortune. But she didn't balk when she needed a transmission earlier on. And that's sometimes where I get people, because in my shop, they're like, well, the car's got 120,000 miles on it. Like, it's worn out. No, it's good. You can put a transmission in it today and drive it for another 120,000
If your car is worn out at 120,000 miles, it's because you wore it out.
Yeah. I mean, the modern car, I think without too much, you can go 200,000 miles without it's not a problem, And if you're really good at it, you can take it out to 300,000 miles. And you start to look at somebody comes up to a big repair bill and they say, "Oh, I'm out," Well, you take a $3,000 problem and you fix it with $50,000,
And it's not just the mechanical repairs. I had a friend and customer in the shop Wednesday.
He's lying about the friend part.
I don't have any friends. Nice Mercedes, and the car got bumped while it was parked, and it's not that bad, just you can't really notice. I said, no.
Gotta fix it. Gotta fix it.
No, you gotta. I said, you know what? The first one, it's not so bad. It makes the second one even easier, and the third one, now you've got this piece of junk. Just don't don't let it get away from you. Just if you keep it nicer, you're going to want to keep it nicer. It's that.
Buy a little less car so you can afford to fix it if it gets a dent in the side of it. That's the way I look at it. Little pride of ownership on that deal. So anyhow, let's go with Jerry, Santan Valley 2004 Dodge Stratus with a 2.4. How can we help you, Jerry? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Thanks, guys, for taking my call. I've got a low idle issue. When the car first starts up, when I first start it in the morning, it'll idle up around above about 1,000 RPMs, and then it'll settle down to about 750, 800 RPM. But the moment the car warms up, it'll sit there around 750, but when I put it in reverse or drive, the car wants to bog down. And the moment I kick on the AC, it'll really bog down, and sometimes the car will just stall. If I'm driving it, stopping at a light, it'll bog down, and then when I have to try to catch it right away, giving it gas. So I have no idea what's going on with it.
So it's mostly an idle problem. Otherwise, does it perform well?
It performs well. It shifts well. No problems. Just a low idle, and I just don't understand. I've already changed out the camshaft sensor, but that wasn't it, and I have no idea what else to look for.
Are there any fault codes or any messages on the dash or any check engine lights?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no codes whatsoever.
Okay, perfect. I don't know why we would have changed the cam sensors necessarily unless there was a problem, because that by itself isn't going to necessarily affect the idle. Dave, I'd be looking at, or Jerry, I'd be looking for maybe vacuum leaks. I'm not sure if that's a mass airflow sensor or a MAP sensor system on that car for metering the air. I'd be looking at vacuum leaks. That'd be one area. I'd be having a hard look at the throttle body area. There's a idle air control motor on some cars, or now cars don't even have a throttle cable, so it's just the computer electronically opens the throttle. That's a fixed amount of air that is supposed to go by that to get the idle. And after time, you get carbon buildup around the throttle plates and in that idle control motor area. Sometimes cleaning that could help. We need to test that motor, see if it's stuck, and none of these things are necessarily going to turn on a check engine light.
Right.
So I think it's got something to do with the amount of air either entering or not entering the engine.
For sure. And it can be, it's one of those deals where a little of this, little of that adds up to a poor idle situation. And people always, I'll get phone calls at the shop. People say, when I put in gear, it wants to stall. So it's got to be something wrong with the transmission. It's just, in park or neutral, there's no load on the engine. As soon as you pull in a gear, it is going to load the engine a little bit, but it's not necessarily the transmission aspect of that. So good luck with that, Jerry. If you're looking for a shop, bumpertobumperradio.com. And let's go with Chris in Phoenix. He's got a 2004 Volvo XC90. How can we help you, Chris? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hello, guys. Thanks for taking my call. What's happening, this car got 100,000 miles, and it was working fine, no problem. A few weeks ago, what's happening is just I'm driving good, and 65 miles an hour, when I'm trying to hit the brakes, the car starts shaking. So not really bad, but just a little bit. I was in Brake Plus. Brake Plus take all the rotors down, everything, and ask me to change the rotors and brakes. I buy the rotors from BAP, and I buy the brakes. I put all the brakes together. I put all the rotors together in the front of the car, and the same thing, nothing changed. So all the bearings, all the bushing, all the control arms, everything looks fine in the front one. So I was back in different place, different Brake Plus, and I explained what's happening, and the guy tell me to check the back one, rotors and the brakes, because sometimes it's possible when you drive, when you push the brakes, the car is shaking, either if you have a problem in the front or in the back. And I'm confused why it's possible. My question is, it's possible the car to shaking when you push the brakes because you got bad rotors or bad brakes in the back?
Oh, yeah,
it's possible.
And that's when we drive them and we have a pulsation. We have to drive them, and we kind of got to make I call it the buttometer. We got to make a judgment based off of where we think that pulsation's coming from. If it's the rear brakes, I tend to feel it more in my butt.
Yeah.
If it's the front brakes, it's a little more pedal dominant, a little more steering wheel dominant. So those are and that's just a feel thing.
Well,
and we could have had a problem with both too.
Well, yeah, and I'll go a little bit further, Dave. I think you feel the rear in the pedal. I mean, definitely in your butt. You're going to feel it in the seat at a very low speed. You might even get some pushback on the brake pedal from the rears. From the fronts, I usually see the steering wheel going side to side and feel that shaking. I don't necessarily experience as much in the pedal on the fronts, but it can happen. You can have that's got a disc brake. One thing you can try, I don't know of the exact setup on that, but if the parking brake is utilizing the brake pads that the car uses to stop, you can apply the parking brakes. You've got to know what you're doing. Just don't go slam on the parking brake, but you've got to hold the release.
This sounds like we need to put a little disclaimer here.
Disclaimer, don't do what I'm talking about. Don't do it. But no, you can hold the release, apply the parking brake slightly, and if you can isolate the vibration while you're getting the parking brake, then you know it's the rear. But Dave, how many times are you going to help someone? Hey, I need this on my car. Can you check it out? Okay, great. Thank you. And they leave and they go do the work. And they come back and say, hey, what you said isn't it? What else is it? You know what? I'm not really interested.
Well,
because that's not what we're in business to do.
One of the things people don't realize is that a shop can line up cars from here to Yuma for diagnostic. And if we diagnose cars all day long, we would actually go out of business. And that's the hardest part of our job. I mean, nuts and bolts is nuts and bolts, and replacing parts is one thing. But diagnosing, so if you do have a good shop and they do a good job diagnosing, support them. Keep those good guys. You don't want to end up with all the good guys leaving the business, the people who can diagnose cars. Let's make our industry better and that type of thing.
Well, yeah, so your shop, anybody can do the flushes and do this and put belts on and do brakes. But a lot of those guys, we get the referrals from other shops too. They can't fix the other stuff. So I don't know
they're qualified to do
why people necessarily support that. I want to go. I told this story before when I had my eye surgery. Tons of people can do that LASIK. But I went to the guy that was a little more expensive because he's the medical doctor. The other guys got taught how to use the machine. My guy's the doctor, so when something goes haywire, he can take care of me. Same thing with my car. Why would you let the Joe Blow luber flush your transmission? If something goes wrong, he can't handle it. Mm-hmm. They can't fix your head gasket when it blows. They can diagnose the hose, but but they're not capable of making the repair. So go to the guy that can handle everything for you is what I think.
Right. So thanks for joining us. Thanks, Bree, for running the dials. Bree is not only running the dials, she's screening the phone calls. She's actually training someone all at the same time, and the magic is still happening across that glass somewhere. So anyway, thanks, Bree. If you're looking for a friendly, honest, competent auto repair shop or body shop, you can find them at bumpertobumperradio.com. If you missed something in the show today, you can find it up on the website tomorrow or maybe the next day. But all our shows since day one are up on that website. So if you're there, like us on Facebook, join the Bumper to Bumper Radio family. Remember, never text and drive. And from all the shops at Bumper to Bumper Radio, have a great weekend. Jim, we're going to get you off air because we're running shy on time. We'll see you next week.